Hello friends, welcome to UPSC Panda. Today I am going to discuss another essay topic of UPPCS. This has been asked in previous year in the previous year. So the topic is space science and India. So the simple format what we have discussed in one of the videos is, so we will follow that structure. First we will write intro, that is introduction. After that, main body and conclusion. This is the simple framework we will follow. And how the introduction of this topic will be written, I will tell you after I will discuss the main body. So you will get how the backward linkage can be used as an introduction, what I have planned for this particular topic. So I'm going to start with the main body of the essay. In the main body, what I called macro dimensions, I will divide the main body in the three micro dimensions. Sorry, in three macro dimensions. First is progress in institution building and infrastructure building. Second will be what is the progress in space missions. Third will be contribution of Indian space science. These three will be the macro dimensions in which the essay topic will be divided. Obviously, the main body will be divided. So, in the first macro dimension, that is progress in institution and infrastructure building, I will divide it into the multiple micro headings, or not to say micro headings, micro dimensions. So, in that institution building, we will start from by saying that in 1962, Homi Jahangir Bhabha started the development of a space program in India with the building institution called INCOSPAR in 1962. Subsequently, it was developed and promoted as ISRO in 1969. Gradually, other institutions came into being, that is Defense Space Agency and Defense Space Research Organization. You can give one para, I think, for all these four institutions and how it has evolved. Later in the second para, you can also mention that institution for building the private sector participation. So for that, there is a NSIL, National Space India Limited, and second is in space, and third is ISPA. So that so far as National Space India Limited is concerned, it is like commercial arm of ISRO. So it takes contract from global at a global level. They take contract and deliver the project or any space launch they require. And in space is a kind of regulator that will act, that will help promote the private sector. And in another body called ISPA, that is a kind of association of private players. So they will help in formulation of the better policy and all. So this is the part of institution. So you can give two paras to the institution. First is how at the government level and how the institution has been built for the private sector promotion. Next comes infrastructure building. So regarding infrastructure building, the largely infrastructure can be divided into three parts. What I have thought of, that is first launch vehicle development, second is engine development, and third is IRNSS. So you can see that in the launch vehicle development, we can trace the chronology of the development. Like we started with SLV, then PSLV. See there, I have mentioned some aspects of that. This is progress in launch vehicle. You can see that SLV, PSLV, GSLV. GSLV, there are variants called Mark II, Mark III. Later, very recently in 2019, there was a small satellite launch vehicle, and again the progress is development is under development is in progress, that is next generation launch vehicle. So such kind of development of launch vehicle can be mentioned in one para. Next comes engines, ramjet, scramjet. You can elaborate in one para on that also. And after that, IRNSS, like Navik, what we called, it is equivalent to the GPS of USA, but however, GPS is global and IRNSS is regional. So this is a kind of, you can mention in one para. So it will take some space of that, and you directly switch to the another macro dimension. And here, while switching to the another macro dimensions, you can bring a linking para, that having discussed uh, institution and infrastructure building, let us understand the progress in the field of space missions. So in space missions, you can again divide in the uh, multiple space missions you can mention in one para. So in that regard, I will also suggest add one linking statement, that apart from previous missions, like many missions have been launched earlier also, but we have a limitation that you have to complete the essay in 700 words, 7 and 8 pages, and we have a less scope. So we will largely discuss the topics or the missions that are very recent. So here you can mention interplanetary mission, that is Mars orbiter mission. Here you have to elaborate a bit on that. You can say that ISRO has become the first organization in the world that has achieved Mars orbiter mission launch successfully uh, in its first attempt. And second, you can talk about the moon mission. It is the moon mission in the Chandrayaan 1. You can say it is the first organization that conferred presence of water, and the second, Chandrayaan 2 was not very successful in soft landing, but orbiter is still working. That we had launched in the second attempt, or say Chandrayaan 2. But and in the third one, we can see that the first soft landing, for the first time in the first attempt, in ISRO was successful in making soft landing at the south pole of the moon. So all this can be elaborated in one page. And next, you can mention about the solar mission, that is Aditya L1. You may elaborate a few points on that, that what can be, what are the objectives, and what can be the achievements of this particular mission. Another can be the manned mission, that is Gaganyaan. You can mention 4 5 of them. uh, and you may also mention one of the mission is docking. Recently it has been done, docking. So this can be mentioned. And next, you will come at the third macro dimension, that is contribution of Indian space science. So in that, you can take, I have mentioned the 6 of them, but depending upon the space and the level of recall you have, you can selectively use 4 5 of them. So in the field of economy, you will mention that, in that you can elaborate by saying that, see, space mission contribute Indian space mission contributes 2% of global GDP, sorry, 2% of entire space program what we have. And that figure you have to mention on that. And the social relevance aspect, you can mention that the telecommunication for inset, you have to give a specific name of the satellite, that this satellite has been used for that particular purpose. So telecommunication, weather forecasting, some satellites help in that monsoon predictions, a dynamic model of monsoon prediction. All these for the farmers, it is very helpful. And another dimension can be space diplomacy. In this, though, you can mention the example of Artemis Accord that India has signed recently. And you can also talk about the global collaboration, in that the LUPEX with the Japan. And India has also taken help of France, Russia, and USA for the training of astronauts that will go in Gaganyaan project, Gaganyaan mission. Another can be the participation of the private sector, in that Agnikul and Skyroot can be example of the startups. Another security aspect in that you can mention about the navik. In this there is a component for exclusively for the military purpose, navigation for military purpose, and there is GSET 7 for navy and GSET 7A for air force and 7B for the army. So you can mention all that. So if you mention in this, in the main body, all three dimensions, so now after having taken stock of all the components you will discuss in the main body, I will suggest that in the intro, because this topic is not very, so far my understanding is concerned, is giving a scope to us to write some quote or something that take the stock of entire topic. So my understanding says you can go for the backward linkage. How should you go for the backward linkage? You can understand by saying that you can understand by looking that we are discussing the institute and infrastructure building and the progress space science has made in India. So in that regard, you can understand that if we go one step back, we can bring a debate called should India go for space related development while the country was facing the challenges just after independence. We started our journey in the space science in 1962. There were questions were raised. The questions were raised were that should in the background when there is a huge poverty, large scale illiteracy, so should we devote our money for social sector or we should focus on the space mission? So we have to bring this debate in a para, and we should move by saying that no, this was a visionary leadership of Vikram Sarabhai along with Homi Jahangir Bhabha. Vikram Sarabhai was the father of Indian space program, and Bhabha was the father of Indian atomic program. And along with the erstwhile political setup, all these made India to move towards space development with the baby steps. And today we are seeing all these developments in the subsequent essay. You can mention like that, and after giving a background, you may add a linking para that will transition to the main body. In that you can mention the wheel of the essay will run through run to explain that the progress in the institution and infrastructure building. Means you will mention this macro dimensions, all three macro dimensions, that the wheel of the essay will move in discussing the progress in the institution and infrastructure building and what the progress in the space missions, and in at last we will understand the contribution of Indian space science. So you will mention all these things, and subsequently you will move to the main body, and main body I have already discussed. When the main body will be discussed completely, you will again add a linking para. In that linking para you will say a kind of summary that having discussed the progress in the institution and infrastructure building, comma, what is the progress in the space missions and the contribution of Indian space science, let us understand how to make this Indian space mission or space science in India more effective. So in that you will say how to make it better. So there are three suggestions I have mentioned. You can mention in an entire one para, and in or you may go for two para. For that you can say that we require an independent regulator. Why I am saying this? I am saying this because the in space is the regulator. In space is a regulator, and this regulator comes under department of space. So the problem arises is that the private sector feels that because this regulator is not independent, it is under a particular department of government of India, so it may favor public sector, that is ISRO, rather than favoring the private sector. So this perception should be taken care of by making the regulator more independent. So the more private sector will come in this space sector. Second, you may say that adhere to the deadlines. We are hearing for long time there is Gaganyaan project will be launched in 2024, 2025, and it is getting delayed for due to some various reasons. So there is to say that adhere to the deadlines so that we are getting more contracts. And third can be encourage more students to pursue STEM. STEM is about science, technology, engineering, medicine, all these things you can consider. So encourage more people in the STEM sector so that people are more inclined towards space. And you may also mention about the fundamental duty that it says promote scientific temper, and so that all these things will help, and how to make it better you can add one or two para. And finally you will say if all these things will happen in this amrit kal, we will achieve this and sankalp se siddhi type, we can give big statement, and it will give a better futuristic vision, positive outlook to the examiner while just before he will be going to give some marks in the final essay. So I hope this will help. And in global collaboration, I have mentioned lupex. You can also mention about nisar, that NASA, ISRO synthetic aperture radar. All these things you can mention and it will take care of your essay. So I hope this framework and the content part will take care of. So this I will share in my Telegram channel also, you may join. And thank you for from this UPSC Panda. Thank you.